The wait is finally over. The Last of Us aired on HBO or Sky Atlantic for us Brits, and if you haven't seen it yet, pause this video and go watch it now. There will be a brief summary of the episode before giving my review and score, so this is your spoiler warning for anyone that plans on watching the show or playing the Sony game if you haven't already, as the show appears to be staying more or less faithful to the source material. From the get-go, we are introduced to the origin of fungal parasites in the form of a talk show in the 1960s, where scientists explain to us about global pandemics, not that we need to be reminded of that, and the threat fungus has on humanity. We jump forward to 2003, where we are introduced to Sarah, played by Nico Parker, and Joel, played by Pedro Pascal. Before you know it, Tommy, Joel's brother, played by Gabriel Luna, is on the scene and we are about to witness Outbreak Day. Following the tragic death of Sarah, we jump ahead 20 years and find out that the parasitic fungus, known as cordyceps, is still rife, and Joel is now residing in the Boston quarantine zone, without Tommy, who has gone missing for 3 weeks. The quarantine zones are operated by the Federal Disaster Response Agency, also known as FEDRA, the last remnants of the United States government and the ruling authority of the quarantine zones. Rising against FEDRA are the Fireflies, a revolutionary militia group trying to restore pre-pandemic governance, and before you know it, Joel along with his partner Tez become embroiled in smuggling a girl called Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey, out of the quarantine zone as cargo. The episode concludes with them escaping and heading off for the Fireflies' Capitol building. There are some subtle and also not so subtle creative differences from the game and the show, which is obviously to be expected, and as a fan of the game, I honestly didn't mind them. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised with how faithful they were to the source material as a whole. The car scene in particular was excellent and near identical to the game, including seeing the events of the outbreak unfold from Sarah's point of view. Nico Parker, who plays Sarah, did a fantastic job in making us care for Sarah in this very short space of time we had with her, and her death still had the emotional weight you'd expect if you played the game. The show did a great job with the expanded world building, particularly seeing Sarah's day unfold and meeting the Adlers before the outbreak. Shout out to Connie, who was terrifying as an infected old lady, and what a kill by Joel. Now, I have seen some criticism online regarding the casting of Sarah, which I won't fully delve into as I think it's ridiculous in 2023 to even be discussing it, especially as the actor did a great job with the limited time we had with her. In regards to the quarantine zone, there are small changes here and there, such as Richard selling batteries instead of guns, and it did feel like they wanted to whiz through the quarantine zone segment as quick as possible, which may disappoint some fans of the game. The only gripe I had with the quarantine zone was the minimal explanation of Fedra and the Fireflies to newcomers of the series, and the lack of information as to why Tommy isn't with Joel. Despite having my reservations on the casting of Joel and Ellie in particular, I'm happy to report that both performances so far have been great. Pedro Pascal feels like a natural to the role, and although Bella Ramsey was better than I expected, it will still take me some time to get used to her as Ellie. I like the casting of Gabriel Luna as Tommy, but we haven't seen much of him so far. Merle Dandridge reprised her role as Marlene, the leader of the Boston Fireflies, which was a nice touch, but she didn't get a large amount of screen time, and the jury is still out for me regarding Tess, played by Anna Torv. To be fair on the actor, I enjoyed her work in Fringe, so I'm sure she'll continue to grow into her role. Now, this show screams high budget, and you can tell HBO has invested a lot of money into making the game come to life. Let's be honest though, HBO has such a great track record with their shows that it was never really in doubt that it would follow suit with this. I'm loving the blend of old and new in regards to the creative choices so far, and I have been impressed by the mannerisms and look of the infected that we have seen. The lighting and overall look of the shots is beautiful, and it's been a blast seeing iconic scenes such as the car sequence and the quarantine zone escape being recreated for TV. Episode 1 is off to a strong start, and regardless if you have played the games or not, I would encourage you to check out The Last of Us. The added exposition and world building for the show complements the already solid story, and the actors playing these iconic characters have done a solid job so far, particularly Nico Parker for making us care about Sarah in the limited time we had with her. Pedro Pascal feels like a natural playing Joel, but I think the jury might still be out on Bella Ramsey playing Ellie. It feels so good finally having a video game adaptation worthy of your time in the form of The Last of Us, and I can't wait for next week. Final score, a solid 9 out of 10. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about the episode. I'm particularly interested to know if my fellow gamers liked the creative changes or not. And if you're new here, then consider subscribing to my channel for regular TV, film and gaming content. We're currently on the road to 50 subs, and thank you to anyone that has already subscribed. And as always, I will see you next time.